Get out of here, both of you.
Jack and Natalie's relationship reignited like wildfire after reconnecting at the reunion.
Natalie's pregnant. As her former teacher, I need to take responsibility. I have to make her happy.
He delivered his signature self-righteous lines, but to me, his wife, they were the worst betrayal. What about Jessica? She is your child too. I struggled to steady my shaky breathing as I asked.
Jessica is already 12. Between a baby and a middle schooler, which one needs their parents more? Do I really have to explain this to you?
Jack let out a bitter laugh, looking exasperated. What's horrifying is that Jessica was right there in front of Jack during this conversation.
Let's just leave.
Encouraged by Jessica, I packed only the bare essentials, and we left the house. However, as soon as we stepped outside, Jessica's face lit up with a radiant smile, and she flashed a V sign. She didn't look at all like a child who had just been abandoned by her own father.
Mom, we did it.
What?
I mean, those two.
Jessica gave me a sly grin. She had realized something. I'm Monica, a 30-year-old stay-at-home mom. Because I got married young, my only daughter, Jessica, is already 12 years old. Now that Jessica doesn't need much of my attention, and even with all the housework, I find myself with too much free time. So I decided to talk to my husband, Jack. Hey, Jack, I was thinking about getting a part-time job during the day. Jack pushed up the middle of his glasses with his index finger.
Do you really need to?
Not absolutely, but Jessica is going to need more and more money as she grows, and you can never have too much money, right? Jack listened to my thoughts with a serious expression, then chuckled.
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary. My income is more than enough. You and Jessica are very fortunate, you know.
Yeah, I guess so. Jack patted my head with his large hand. I felt like I was still being treated like a child. Jack was my teacher back in high school. He was fair to all his students, serious but always mixing in funny stories during class. He was popular with everyone, regardless of gender. At the time, I was 15, and Jack was 23. I admired older, dependable men. Jack is so cool. My friends and I would gush about him, squealing with excitement. It felt like having a crush on a celebrity. But then, Jack called me aside and confessed his feelings to me. I wondered if it was a prank or some kind of dare. But knowing how serious Jack was, I knew he wouldn't do something like that. Though I was confused, my answer was, of course, yes. I was intoxicated by the forbidden love between teacher and student. It was a secret relationship that I kept hidden from both my friends and family. We exchanged glances during class and brushed our fingertips together in the hallway as we passed. It made every day feel thrilling. Our relationship continued unnoticed, starting from my freshman year of high school. Then, around the fall of my last year of high school, I began to feel changes in my body. I was pregnant.
Don't worry about anything. Monica, I love you with all my heart. Let's get married.
As I panicked over the unexpected pregnancy, Jack proposed to me. I'll never forget how he looked straight into my eyes, completely calm and unwavering. My parents, who didn't even know Jack existed, were initially furious. However, Jack took the time to apologize and persuade them, and eventually they agreed to let us get married. I managed to graduate without revealing my pregnancy to anyone. We got married right after I graduated, and Jack transferred to a private high school in a neighboring state. In the neighboring state where no one knew us, Jack and I began our happy life as a family of 3 with our healthy newborn, Jessica. However, married life turned out to be a bit different from what I had imagined.
That's a new skirt, isn't it? Did you buy it?
Yeah, isn't it cute? I twirled around, letting the long skirt sway lightly.
It's cute. It looks great on you. But do you really need to wear skirts while raising a child? As a mom, shouldn't you prioritize practicality over fashion?
Suddenly, I felt like my skirt was heavier. Well, Jessica is still in my arms most of the time, so skirts are fine for now. Maybe it'll be different when she starts running around the park? Jack let out a big sigh, looking troubled.
Hate to say it, but that outfit makes you look like you're trying to attract men. It's improper. You should stop wearing things like that. Or are you trying to find some shady attention?
His usually gentle tone suddenly turned harsh, and it sent a chill through my body. When I shook my head vigorously in denial, Jack gave me a gentle smile.
You're already younger than most moms around you, so you need to be more careful. Even if you're with a baby, strange men could approach you. I'm just worried about my adorable Monica.
He loves me, my dependable, older Jack is just trying to protect me. At that time, I still believed his opinions were always right, like a student following a teacher's guidance.
Baby swimming classes. Sorry, I can't approve of that. A place with men and women in swimsuits is inappropriate.
When I asked if we could enroll in baby swimming classes, he rejected the idea without even looking at the brochure. For Jessica's lessons, one condition was that there could be no male instructors. I would never cheat on you, you know?
Even if you wouldn't, you can't be sure about the other person. Monica, you're young and cute, so you need to be more cautious.
Jack was always overly worried. Eventually, Jessica started preschool, and I made some mom friends.
Mom friends? That's nice.
Yeah, Jessica gets along great with her friends too. Next time, we're visiting one of their houses. It'll be my first time going to a mom friend's house. I answered cheerfully, but Jack let out a troubled sigh.
On a weekday, right? It's short notice, but I'll take the day off. From now on, make sure to check my schedule too, okay?
What? I tilted my head, not understanding. Seeing my confusion, Jack looked exasperated, patted my head gently, and explained.
Because you're going to another man's house, right?
A man? No, it's just a mom friend. Jessica will be playing with her friend and their mom. I panicked, realizing he had completely misunderstood. But Jack nodded knowingly.
I get it. It's a mom friend's house, right? So, is this mom friend a single mother? If her husband's there, then it's still a man's house, isn't it? If her husband happens to take an interest in you, that would be a problem. That's why I'll go with you.
His argument was so bizarre that I was left speechless. While I stood there confused, Jack patted my head again, gently.
Besides, as your husband, I need to know what kind of person this mom friend of yours is. Especially since you're young and a bit naive. If someone pretended to be your friend and approached you with bad intentions, you wouldn't notice. That's why I'll meet them myself and make sure they're trustworthy.
In Jack's mind, I was still the same immature high schooler I had been when we met. Actually, he treated me more like a preschooler than a high schooler. It had been 3 years since Jessica was born, and I was already an adult. I wasn't a student who needed to be watched over by her teacher anymore.
Think about it. Most moms around you are in their late 20s or 30s, right? Isn't it strange that they'd want to befriend someone like you, who had a baby at 18 and is still so young? It's only natural to suspect there's something behind it.
All the moms around me, not just my close friends, were kind and welcoming. Hearing Jack cast out on my mom friends, despite knowing nothing about them, made me so angry that I couldn't help but raise my voice. That's not true. They're all good people.
Okay, stop right there. I'm the one speaking right now. If you have something to say, I'll hear it after I'm done. But for now, don't interrupt. Got it.
No matter how much time passes, Jack still treats me like his student. Even though he's right here in front of me, gently patting my head, he feels so distant. In the end, I canceled my plans with the mom friends. Financially, we lived comfortably, but my life felt stifling and suffocating. As Jessica grew older, the restrictions only increased. The year her homeroom teacher was male, I wasn't allowed to attend any school events. Jack said it was because, as a parent of one of his students, the teacher might use that as an excuse to approach me. Instead, Jack took time off work to attend every event, but Jessica always looked sad before leaving for school.
Today's sports day, right? Mom, aren't you coming?
I'm sorry, sweetie. I'll be cheering for you from home. Any situation where I might interact with a man was strictly forbidden. Because of this, Jessica's social life and extracurricular activities were also heavily restricted. One time, thinking it might be okay since Jack was at work, I took Jessica out for some fun. But within minutes, he found out. Apparently, there was GPS tracking on my phone.
Why did you go off on your own? Were you trying to do something shady that you couldn't tell me about?
I just wanted to go to the amusement park with my mom friend and her kid. But even such a normal outing wasn't allowed because Jack suspected there might be a man involved. I had tried sneaking out in secret, but I failed.
Monica, you're young and naive, so you need to listen to what I say. I worry because I love you.
At the root of his control was his love for me. But living every day feeling like I was being suffocated, as if someone were slowly tightening a noose around my neck, was unbearable. I may have been young when I gave birth, but now I'm 30. It's embarrassing to be called naive at this age. Jack, please, let's get a divorce. After thinking about it over and over again, I came to the conclusion that divorce was the answer. Jack barely reacted, raising his eyebrows slightly but not looking surprised. Instead, he gave me a troubled smile and, as always, patted my head gently.
What are you talking about? We're not getting divorced.
But I started to protest, drawing in a deep breath, but Jack cut me off.
You're still such a child. What could you possibly be dissatisfied with to suggest divorce? You sound like a rebellious teenager throwing a tantrum to upset their parents.
Jack completely ignored what I had to say, shrugged it off, and dismissed it as nothing more than a momentary lapse in judgment.
Just in case, I'll file a request with the court to reject any divorce papers. You know, rebellious kids can be unpredictable. Seriously, could you stop this teenage rebellion?
Jack was kind, calm, provided a comfortable life, and loved me. To outsiders, he seemed like the perfect husband. But for me, it felt like living in a slightly suffocating fish tank. I had no job, no hobbies, and no friends. As a stay-at-home mom who spent my days doing nothing, Jack was the only person I could rely on. Even though I had seriously considered divorce, the idea of leaving him terrified me. One day, I received an invitation to my high school reunion. It felt nostalgic, but I assumed I wouldn't be allowed to attend since there would obviously be men there. To my surprise, Jack had also been invited and suggested we go together. On the day of the reunion, my heart fluttered at the lively atmosphere I hadn't experienced in a long time. It seemed most of my former classmates already knew about our marriage through rumors. We both blushed as they teased us about it, even after all this time.
Monica. I missed you. Jack stole my Monica.
Natalie, my close friend from high school, threw her arms around me. Natalie was one of my dearest friends. Back then, we always declared ourselves best friends and were closer than most couples. She was the outgoing one who often took the lead, while I, being more reserved, followed along.
Monica, you don't wear makeup, so you look like a little kid. So cute.
I was embarrassed when she said that in front of everyone, but thanks to her, I started paying more attention to my appearance. Her cheerful personality helped me enjoy high school without feeling lonely. In the yearbook I looked through before the reunion, she had written, "We'll always be best friends. Friendship forever." It's a little embarrassing now that we're adults, but it's still a precious memory. Still holding on to me, Natalie pointed a finger at Jack and teased him.
Making a move on your student? Jack, he's so bad.
Jack's expression flickered slightly, but he responded firmly, like the teacher he used to be.
We got married after she graduated, and I love Monica with all my heart even now. Being my former student or our age difference doesn't matter. In today's world, not even gender matters. Live true to your feelings without being trapped by societal norms.
No matter how much sense his words made, they would have drawn cold stares back when we first got married. But now, 12 years later, with Jack still holding me close and openly declaring his love, no one could boo or criticize us. Jack quickly regained the popularity he had in the past and was surrounded by everyone. In the lively venue, I felt out of place and decided to head to the restroom. As I approached, I overheard Natalie's voice coming from inside.
Monica looks so innocent, but she's surprisingly sly, isn't she? Stealing Jack from everyone and acting all smug about it. Isn't her happiness so annoying?
I was about to push open the door when I froze.
Did you know she was pregnant before graduation? She probably kept it a secret and laughed at all of us behind our backs. I bet she got pregnant on purpose. Maybe she even poked a hole in the condom? Quiet girls like her are scary. Poor Jack got trapped into marrying her.
I heard multiple voices laughing and agreeing with her. Snapping out of my daze, I turned to leave, but at that moment, The restroom door swung open.
Oh, Monica. You're here. Come on, tell me all about your life with Jack.
Natalie hugged me again. Her carefree smile was so genuine that it made the voices I had heard earlier seem like a figment of my imagination. That reunion rekindled my friendship with Natalie. Natalie kept reaching out, saying she wanted to meet, and we ended up having lunch together a few times. I worried Jack might disapprove, but since she was a former student he knew well and was single with no boyfriend, there were no restrictions. Before long, it became normal for Natalie to visit our home. She often preferred to come over in the evenings or on weekends.
Good evening, Jack. I brought homemade pudding as a gift.
Pudding? That's my favorite.
Natalie always directed her greetings at Jack, almost completely ignoring me and Jessica.
We're best friends, right? That hasn't changed even now that we're adults.
At first, she said things like that, looking at me with sparkling eyes. But once she started coming to our house, her attention shifted entirely to Jack. I had previously told Natalie that Jack's favorite dessert was pudding. He used to love the rich, egg-filled pudding I made, but I had stopped making it because Jessica has an egg allergy.
You used to make homemade pudding? You must have been such a great wife back then.
She praised me at the time, but now I couldn't understand why she went out of her way to bring Jack homemade pudding herself. Could her teenage admiration for Jack have turned into outright affection after all these years? Jack didn't seem entirely indifferent to Natalie's flirtatious glances. Every time Natalie came over, she and Jack would engage in lively conversations, leaving Jessica and me out. We ended up excusing ourselves from the table each time. It became so blatant that I finally spoke up. Jack, don't you think you're getting a little too close to Natalie?
What's wrong with being close? She's my former student.
Jack answered calmly. Holding my chest, I tried to explain. It goes beyond being a former student. Natalie liked you back in high school. And now, she probably still does. That's why I'm worried. Jack reached out to me as I desperately pleaded. As always, he patted my head gently.
What are you imagining? Don't you trust me?
But Natalie's prettier than me. She's thoughtful, bringing you your favorite things, and you always have fun talking with her. That's why. Please, don't be so close to her. Normally, I wouldn't voice my opinions to Jack, but I couldn't stay silent about Natalie. I blurted it all out in a rush. Jack's hand, resting on my head, tightened its grip.
Are you trying to tell me what to do?
But you've told me not to have close relationships with other men. I barely managed to voice my feelings in a faint, trembling tone.
You and I are not the same.
My head, which felt like it was being crushed, was shoved backward. The force caused me to fall back onto the floor, landing hard. There was no point in continuing the conversation. Out of options, I swallowed my pride and called Natalie to explain. Natalie, I have to tell you something. Jack is falling for you. If this keeps up, my family will. Please, Natalie, we can't meet anymore. Don't come to my house again.
Is that so? So, if I just stop seeing you, that's fine, right? I already have plans with Jack tonight. As long as I don't come to the house, we're good, right?
It became painfully clear, even to someone as oblivious as me, that Natalie was pretending not to understand. Her tone was clearly laced with laughter. A few months later, my fears came true. Jack and Natalie's relationship had escalated.
Get out of here, both of you.
One day, out of the blue, Jack told me he wanted to separate.
Natalie's pregnant. As her former teacher, I need to take responsibility. I have to make her happy.
He delivered his signature self-righteous lines. But to me, his wife, they were the worst betrayal. I had noticed the growing closeness between them, but chose to look the other way. Who could have imagined that within just a few months of their reunion, it would lead to marriage? Pregnant?
That's right. A precious life is growing inside Natalie. So, she's moving in here, and you all need to leave immediately.
Jack folded his arms and arrogantly issued the command. What about Jessica? She is your child too. I struggled to steady my shaky breathing as I asked.
Jessica is already 12. Between a baby and a middle schooler, which one needs their parents more? Do I really have to explain this to you? It's so pathetic that one of my former students could be this dense.
Jack let out a bitter laugh, looking exasperated. What's horrifying is that Jessica was right there in front of Jack during this conversation. I couldn't understand how he could lack any attachment or affection for Jessica, whom he had raised for 12 years. But Jessica, having witnessed Jack's recent behavior, showed little reaction. It seemed she had known from the beginning that this would happen, so she stayed silent, without uttering a single harsh word or complaint. Meanwhile, I couldn't keep my composure. Jessica gently patted my back to calm me down. So, you're saying this means divorce? And that I'll be raising Jessica on my own? I hesitantly confirmed, and Jack's smirk grew even wider. He adjusted his glasses with his index finger and leaned in to peer at my face.
Why are you still acting like my wife? You're so slow to understand and act. It's unbelievable. The divorce was finalized a long time ago.
What? I couldn't help but raise my voice in shock. Normally, Jack would scold me for being loud, but he seemed too pleased to be angry this time.
It's almost time for our appointment.
Jack glanced at the clock as he spoke, and just then, the intercom buzzed. Seeing Jack's sly grin, it was obvious who had arrived.
Oh. Monica and Jessica, you're still here?
Of course, it was Natalie who entered the room. With an oddly sultry grace, she entwined her fingers with Jack's. Not wanting Jessica to see this, I moved her behind me. Natalie and Jack's hands slowly rose to chest level, and that's when I noticed something glittering. Both of their left ring fingers bore diamond rings.
Oh, Monica, you noticed? Actually, I became Jack's wife yesterday. I just had to tell you, my best friend, first.
They leaned close, blushing like an innocent young couple. The shock made me stumble a step backward. You're kidding. I mean, I didn't even sign the divorce papers. Natalie rested her cheek on Jack's arm, smiling sweetly.
Oh, don't worry. I signed them for you. It felt kind of strange writing the marriage certificate right after the divorce papers, though.
You're lying.
I'm not lying.
I could barely breathe, my voice completely gone. I lowered my head as far as I could, clutching my stomach and crumpled onto the floor.
Do you think crying will make people feel sorry for you? Divorce was definitely the right decision. You weren't a bad wife, but you're just too clingy. Let me give you one last piece of advice as your ex-husband and former teacher. You should really work on that gloomy personality of yours.
My throat tightened so much I could barely breathe, on the verge of hyperventilating. Jessica gently rubbed my back again, helping me calm down a little.
Let's just leave.
Encouraged by Jessica, I gathered only the bare minimum of belongings and left the house. As I stepped out the door, I looked up at the sky. It felt so much larger than usual.
Mom,
Jessica took my hand. When I looked down, she was flashing a big smile and making a V sign. She didn't look like a child who had just been abandoned by her own father.
Mom, we did it.
Why?
I mean those two.
Jessica gave me a sly grin.
You set them up, didn't you?
What? Her sudden statement made my heart clench, and a light sweat broke out on my forehead. Jessica, you knew?
Yes.
Wide-eyed, I stared at her, my lips twitching in disbelief. Jessica responded honestly, wearing her innocent, childlike smile. I couldn't help but feel bewildered. But seeing her so cheerful, almost ready to start dancing, loosened the tension that had been holding me tightly. That's right. I was the one who brought those two together. I didn't want you to see your parents' messy relationship, so I kept you in your room as much as possible. But to think you knew all along. Jessica, I'm sorry for making you go through that. The truth is, I just wanted to get away from Jack. Even if I asked for a divorce, his pride would never allow it. He's the type of man who would go as far as filing a rejection with the court to prevent divorce proceedings. Our social lives were limited, our actions restricted, and we were constantly monitored. Jessica and I had no freedom. Even if I managed to escape and tell others about the situation, it would be pointless. People would believe Jack's seemingly upright, respectable version of the story over my cries for help. I knew I'd eventually end up back under Jack's gentle control, no matter how hard I tried to run.
It wasn't hard for me at all. I don't need Dad either. Mom, you won. You always had a stiff, mask-like face in front of Dad. But when that woman came to the house, you actually smiled a little, didn't you? When you were in the kitchen making food for those two, you looked like an evil witch. I could tell you were up to something, and it got me excited too.
I always thought Jessica was still a child, but it turns out she was old enough to understand everything happening around her. I apologized for going through with my plan without consulting her.
It's fine. I figured it out, and I was rooting for you. I thought maybe if Dad cheated, you'd have a reason to divorce him. But I was surprised when Dad was the one to ask for the divorce so suddenly. And then he had the nerve to tell us to leave. I was like, thanks a lot.
Jessica talked as if she were watching an emotional drama on TV.
Mom, you looked like you were pretending to be shocked, and I had such a hard time holding back my laughter. When you curled up on the floor, I think you were laughing too, weren't you? But I bet Dad thought you were crying.
Jessica laughed openly, clutching her stomach. Her laughter was so contagious that I couldn't help but smile too. That's right. My earlier shortness of breath wasn't because I was shaken by the sudden divorce. I had been desperately holding back my laughter. The plan had worked far too well, and deep inside, I was filled with joy. I was so excited and happy that it even brought tears to my eyes. I just whispered to Natalie, "I think he likes you," and the two of them were all in. Natalie probably wanted to take Jack from me because she looked down on me, and he was someone she had always admired.
They didn't even realize you were pulling the strings, Mom. They were like puppets, dancing while you controlled the strings.
They seem happy together, so that's great, right? And now we're free from Jack, so we're happy too. Everyone wins. The life of being controlled is over. Jessica and I are finally free. When I returned to my parents' home and explained our situation, they were speechless. They had always believed Jack to be an upstanding young man. But with their illusions shattered, they warmly welcomed Jessica and me back. 2 weeks later, Jessica and I were living peacefully. However, one day, Natalie showed up at my parents' house, disrupting our calm. She, who had once been so beautiful, was now gaunt and unrecognizable.
Monica, please help me.
I didn't owe her anything, but I decided to hear her out. What's wrong? Natalie looked around cautiously, clutching the stretched out neckline of her t-shirt.
Jack's control is unbearable. He put GPS on me and monitors everything. He interrogates me about where I've been, even for simple things like shopping or going to a concert. If it's a guy I've been with, it gets really bad, but even normal outings get endless criticism. We argued about it a few times, and then Jack got mad. Now, I'm not allowed to leave the house at all.
Lacking the energy to even raise her voice, Natalie spoke in quiet, fragmented sentences. She said her constant defiance had completely destroyed Jack's trust in her, and he had thrown out most of her clothes, deeming them inappropriate and provocative. As a result, she didn't even have proper outfits to wear outside anymore. Surveillance cameras had been installed inside the house, and every time she opened the front door, an alarm blared. The level of control she faced far exceeded what I had experienced. It seemed I had been let off easy because I had obeyed him. That sounds tough, but you mentioned being with other men?
It wasn't serious or anything. It was just for fun.
If she had been unfaithful, it was hard to muster much sympathy. Natalie had quit her job after marrying Jack and became a carefree stay-at-home wife. She had a kind husband and a stable home, yet still wanted a boyfriend. That was pure selfishness. Even though I never even thought about cheating, Jack constantly worried about me. He's just a naturally possessive person. But Natalie, you betrayed him right after getting married. So isn't it only fair that you're being controlled this much? Jack's possessiveness was indeed excessive, but Natalie was also at fault. In the end, they were both to blame. They say infidelity is like an illness, but at this rate, you might actually overcome it. Resisting the urge to cheat must be like quitting smoking. With Jack's love, Natalie, I'm sure you'll transform into a devoted woman.
Are you mocking me?
I am mocking her. What could she possibly understand about Jack after only a few months of being together? She was too blind to see his true nature as a controlling man and foolishly took him from me just to spite me. A man who so easily abandons his wife and child of over 10 years to marry his affair partner could never be a good person.
If I'd known he was like that, I never would have married him.
Realizing this now is too late. Even if she tries to ask for a divorce, Jack will reject her, just as he did with me. She willingly walked into a prison of her own making and now must endure it. Natalie, shedding tears quietly, was nothing like the woman she had been just a short time ago. I sighed, debating whether to deliver her back to her love prison, but it seemed unnecessary.
Natalie, why are you here?
Jack had arrived. He clearly always knew exactly where Natalie was. Natalie's face turned pale, and she tried to hide behind me. However, I had no intention of standing between them and stepped aside.
Why can't you just stay put? I've prepared snacks for you, subscribed to streaming services. You've got a comfortable home. You shouldn't have any complaints. Or is it about another man again? Did Monica help you so you could run off to see some guy?
Jack's paranoia, likely fueled by past infidelity, was glaringly apparent.
No. Who would even want to meet me dressed like this? I just want to get away from you. If I'd known you were such a controlling jerk, I never would have married you. You're insane.
You're the one at fault for being unfaithful. I'm just worried about you and want you to stay home.
Then divorce me. How long are you going to keep doubting me when I'm dressed like this? I couldn't cheat if I wanted to.
Their relationship was already broken, but Jack stubbornly refused to agree to a divorce.
A teacher nearing 40 can't exactly remain single. It's a matter of credibility. Natalie, it was convenient that you married me right after Monica. But if I divorce you now, what am I supposed to do? Twice divorced single man? That wouldn't look good. How could I possibly continue teaching like that?
In the end, he was only concerned about his own reputation. There was no way Natalie could accept such a selfish argument. In fact, it only made things worse. Natalie looked like she was about to explode with rage.
What does that mean? You married me just for appearances?
What are you talking about? I took responsibility. You got pregnant, so I married you, didn't I?
Natalie's face, previously tense with anger, suddenly went slack as the fire in her eyes was extinguished.
Oh, the baby, well, there isn't one.
She awkwardly placed her hand on her flat stomach and mumbled,
I thought I could pull the same move Monica did by claiming I was pregnant.
"These two are a match made in selfish heaven. Neither of them cares about anyone but themselves and their own desires." Jack's jaw dropped in shock, but it didn't take him long to respond.
I can't stand dishonest people.
Natalie, who once desperately wanted to escape Jack, now looked as if she'd been shot. Her expression was filled with anguish. As dizziness overcame her and she wobbled on her feet, Jack ignored her entirely and turned to face me.
I was completely deceived by Natalie. Monica, I made a mistake. Let's go back to 2 weeks ago. We can return to the way things were.
With a gentle and seemingly sincere demeanor, Jack extended his hand toward me. It was almost like a prince from a fairy tale had appeared. Coupled with the admiration I once felt for him as a student, his gesture was undeniably charming. I could understand why Natalie had thrown everything away to pursue him. But I had no desire to ever touch his elegant, long fingers again. Time doesn't move backward. You can't change the fact that you abandoned me and Jessica.
What?
Jack stared at me in disbelief, his mouth slightly open. He must have thought that, since he was the one who left, I'd be desperately clinging to him. He likely believed that if he proposed again, I'd happily run back into his arms. He had no idea I'd been laughing at him behind the scenes. I'm really free now. I can enjoy shopping or watching movies on my days off at my own pace. I've been busy working since my divorce, but my life feels so fulfilling. Jack gritted his teeth, forcing a distorted smile as he stepped closer to me.
How can someone as clueless as you manage a job? You have no work experience. It's impossible. Don't be a burden to others. Come back to me, and I'll let you enjoy being a carefree housewife again.
No, thank you. He wasn't wrong. I didn't have any work experience since I only graduated high school. But Jessica was now old enough to take care of herself, and I had the support of my parents at home. Most importantly, I was only 30 years old, still young. As long as I wasn't too picky, I had no trouble finding a job. Working is so much fun that I never seem to have enough time. I often think about how I could use all that extra time I had as a housewife now. But there's no way I'd ever go back to being a housewife supported by Jack. Even with all the time in the world, he never allowed me any real freedom.
What did you just say?
I continued, turning to Jack with a question. Is the reason you're always so suspicious of me or Natalie cheating because you're the one cheating? After living with him for so long, I thought I understood him at least a little. Jack despised me having any interaction with other men, but that didn't mean he kept his own distance from women. He kept his wife on a tight leash while enjoying total freedom for himself. He never wore a GPS tracker, nor did he explain his late nights out. Are you convinced that because you're cheating, your wife must be as well? When I asked directly, Jack glared at me with an expression that screamed guilt. His face gave him away completely.
No, I'm everyone's teacher. I can't help it if people gravitate toward me. It's not my fault.
In other words, Jack indirectly confessed that his partners were students. It wasn't surprising that he, with his polished and charming exterior, was popular among female students. I had even seen love letters addressed to him before. As a teacher, and as a married man with a family, I assume you've handled all of that responsibly, right? You wouldn't have crossed any lines with your students, would you?
No, that's not it. I mean, it wasn't serious. It was just for fun.
Jack's panicked response echoed Natalie's earlier excuse. After all the freedom he took from Jessica and me, he had been freely indulging himself with women. To him, I was nothing more than a prop to uphold his image as a respectable teacher. A picture-perfect teacher, known for a harmonious family life and trusted by both students and parents, would never be suspected of having an inappropriate relationship with a student. So, fooling around is okay then? Why don't you forgive Natalie? You both enjoy fooling around with the opposite sex. It sounds like you two are a perfect match. Wishing you a long and happy life together. Jack clenched his fists in frustration, trembling with anger.
I don't care about you anymore. Natalie, let's go home.
Refusing to admit defeat, Jack grabbed Natalie by the collar. It seemed he was willing to settle for Natalie, a fellow cheater, as a tool to maintain his good guy image. As for me, the defiant and outspoken one, He finally and truly discarded me for good.
I don't want to go back. Monica, help me.
A loveless life of confinement was about to begin again. Terrified by the thought, Natalie reached out to me, but I watched her leave with a straight face.
Let me go. I don't want to.
Shut up and be quiet.
It's hard to imagine what kind of newlywed life these two will lead now that their true colors have been revealed. Natalie, thank you for taking Jack off my hands, Jack. Thank you for leaving me. I was filled with gratitude. After that, perhaps due to tighter restrictions, Natalie never came to me for help again. And with his pride wounded, it was unlikely that Jack would ever contact me again either. This time, peace had truly arrived.
Oh, it's Dad.
Just as I was beginning to forget about them, Jessica spoke up one morning. Wondering what she meant, I looked at the TV, and sure enough, Jack's name was being mentioned.
Wow, he got arrested. Guess his bad deeds finally caught up with him.
It turned out that multiple inappropriate relationships with his students had come to light, making national headlines. He instantly became a household name.
Hey Mom, it's a good thing we're already divorced. Whatever happens to him now has nothing to do with us.
That's true. Jessica seemed completely unbothered. Perhaps as a reaction to all the restrictions she had endured, Jessica was now incredibly proactive about everything.
Turns out I'm not great at soccer. I mean, I've always been pretty uncoordinated.
Even if something seems impossible from the start, Jessica believes you won't know until you try, so she gives it a shot. As it turns out, anyone can see that soccer is definitely not her sport. Somehow, the ball always ends up flying backward.
Well, I'll keep practicing until I can kick it straight.
But Jessica never gave up easily. She ran, fell, and chased the ball with sweat and a bright smile glistening on her face. She's a child who knows how to keep moving forward with her own will. Jessica, you can do it. As long as Jessica kept trying, I decided to set aside any negative feelings like, this is impossible or maybe it won't work, and just cheer her on. And as Jessica keeps running forward, I want to live my own life just as proudly without hesitation.